particular a 4x4, which is a great vehicle at a great price. You know, before costs for insurance and registration and other things, under $1,000. No shit. And it's one of the best vehicles that I've ever had. 1990 GMC Jimmy. Doesn't look the fanciest, but the way that it handles, the way that it drives, good alignment, good brakes, a good acceleration, gets up to speed quite well. So there's benefit in putting yourself in situations to where, say, you might be stuck for a period of time, but you're going to be safe, and you have everything that you need, maybe not everything that you want, but everything that you need. And when I was living pretty much stuck over the course of this winter, but winter's not over, on my property, there were even some periods to where I didn't even have the things that I needed, like internet, where I had to hitchhike into town. Well, now that's behind me. So the reason sometimes while people fast, or they go without, or they live in their vehicle, or they become home free, or they travel, or they quit their job, you know, to give those examples as well, in addition to what I'm doing, when people go with less, they get more. And I'm sure you've heard the expression, less is more. For example, somebody may say, well, don't tell somebody 20 things. Focus on your top 3 points. Maybe advice I might want to take. And so the whole thing is less and more. It's the quality. Well, we talk about the quality of our lives. Is it really about the materialism, or is it about a deeper connection with ourselves? And that's really what I look at when I think of having a connection with nature. It's really to have a deeper connection with myself, to add in some of the thoughts that I've had recently, as in the last few days, myself and my relationship to the Creator, and to be less concerned with the love and fame and appreciation and compassion from today's human species. There's plenty of you that are loving and kind that watch this channel. There's also many that are hateful, and I can see how I fall out of balance when I take my focus away from the Creator, and I think about what the women and what the men think, and I think about their acceptance. So for someone like me to go off the grid after at one point doing a television show on cable access TV, it means something. It's a little different than the ordinary backpack journey. I literally walked away from a platform to where I was reaching tens of thousands of people each week in my community. And I knew even when I was doing that show, Outside the Box TV on Access, Portland Community Media to be specific, I knew a day would come to where I would shed my skin and I would embark on a whole new adventure. And it would be about the dissolving of the ego and going beyond my attachment to that Alex Ansary persona, living in Portland, Oregon, and being this revolutionary isn't the right word, but definitely one of the few in the city speaking about certain things. I'll tell you what, when you are one of the few, you can also put yourself on the map, on the radar, which is something that we're talking about. Spiritual attacks, we're talking about blowback, energetic blowback, not necessarily cops following you and gang stalking, but the spiritual warfare, you know, because when you're living in an urban environment and you're awakening people, not only locally, but online, and you're unplugging the cord from the matrix, oh yeah, there's a little bit of energetic backlash. So over the last few years, I've learned about grounding, and I've learned what ungrounds mean. And urban environments, electromagnetic pollution, which I believe are conduits for spiritual parasites, believe it or not, as well as the sun. The sun's a beautiful thing, gives us life. It also boosts other things as well. So the whole goal with regards to strategic relocation was not necessarily 100% disaster preparedness, but developing a deeper connection with myself, because I feel like parts of that was severed by the urban experience and the distractions of the dead experience, rent, moving from place to place, interesting yet awkward experiences with the opposite sex, and when you're running around getting entangled, literally, with a lot of different people, there could be some complications, especially those people who have some, are at a certain frequency. And so we have to keep our lust in check, our desires in check, the thirst for materialism in check. So here I am in this RV, and I'm going to be, I spent $200 last night on insurance, I'm going to be spending $200 on the registration today. I'm literally going to be broke by the end of the day. I may have less than $100 left. So I put everything into this vehicle. I have a land payment coming up next month. And so I'm still connected with the materialistic world, and I'm seeking to find balance. So I have everything that I need, but I still have to be responsible. Pay off that land the next 4 years. I don't have to worry about payments for the car. See, I've always bought used cars cheap, and people have always gone, whoa, you can't get nothing good for $500 or $1,000. Well, it depends where you are. Sometimes the universe or God works in mysterious ways. And I can tell you that in the last few days, there's been a number of really interesting synchronicities. For example, first of all, a guy on Facebook, I connected with him, and he ended up taking me to the person that was selling this vehicle for $850. Not only that, when I got the vehicle back to my property, I got stuck in the driveway, and I found someone else online through a Facebook group. So Facebook does have its pluses, even though I've been very critical of it. Facebook saved my ass. So I probably should do a video showing the light side of Facebook and the mindful ways to interact with others, and the ways of synchronicity, ways that God can speak to us and help us through other people. But in this world of technology, sometimes it'll come through the medium of Facebook. Even if we don't like that, it's important to understand that positivity and synchronicity and other blessings come through that medium, come through that channel. So the guy drives over, and he drives literally from his house like 3-4 blocks away, literally. And he's in my same remote off-grid neighborhood or community. It takes us about an hour, but he pulls me out, gives me some advice on salting the driveway and scraping it out and things of that nature. So then I went to the store with my fingers crossed that they would have chains at Wally World. And Lady Luck was on my side. They did have the chains. And I noticed that when I'm in a better mood, it does seem to affect the people around me. When I do have anxiety and fear, when there's something going on, it affects those around me as well. My emotions are very strong. My projections are very strong. The way that we have the ability to create our own reality to a certain degree is very strong. It's just a point that we be mindful with it and not become super selfish people, only interested in money and materialism, but using our power of creativity, power of manifestation to make the world a better place, to enlighten. So that's my interpretation of law of attraction. I'll get more into that in future videos. So I'm coming back from Wally World with the new chains, and I never put the chains on before. Lo and behold, there I am about to go up the hill to my residence, and there's an old pickup truck with a guy outside with a flashlight. And what is he doing? He's chaining his tires up. His name was Joe. He's actually been here about 6 months. I've actually met about 10 people that have only been in this area about a year. So I came at a time where it's growing, and there may be some challenges for the off-grid community in the future. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. So I pull up behind this guy without fear, and I basically say to him, hey, can you help me put on these chains? I even offered him a few dollars afterwards. By the way, a state trooper just passed me, and I'm driving without plates, and the guy kept going. So, again, I put out that mantra before I left. I would be invisible to all predators of the road, and it's a mantra that's worked for me in the past. It hasn't worked 100%. There are periods where I become complacent, but I just thought I would let you know. I would be a lot more, I'm starting to really face the fact that living in Portland has still left some scars in me emotionally. It doesn't mean that it was just Portland, everywhere else is so much better, because you deal with really assholes everywhere. But as far as like fear of the police and that type of ingraining, not just Portland, but Costilla County as well. Not a great place with regards to the off-grid community in relation to local law enforcement. But going back to the story, to pull behind a guy and have this guy help me for a few minutes, and he was actually a double of my friend John Burroughs. And you can see who John Burroughs is. He's a Texan, Ron Paul supporter. And there's a video of me and him walking through an RNC security checkpoint with our little, he had a delegate pass and I had a guest pass at the RNC at one of their lower coliseums or stadiums there in Tampa Bay, Florida, 2012. John Burroughs, this guy looked just like him. John, Joe, names are similar. So I mentioned to John that I would be talking in a future video about how I've noticed this before, but I've never actually spoken of it. The body doubles, positivity, to where you may have like a positive experience with a particular person, and then you may meet their body double or someone that seems to be of their exact same family tree or biological code, like very, very similar. And so I've seen this, even though some of you may have found me critical of certain things in society, and some people may become defensive when they shouldn't. I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of good people in this society. I've had a lot of great white friends. I haven't had so many Middle Eastern friends, for example. Only in a few Hispanic friends, only in a few Asians. So even though I'm critical with regards to the stereotypes in our society, some people believe it's predominantly minority. Other people, they may have lived in realities like in Portland and other places where it's predominantly white. Not minority, not illegal, but predominantly white. And that's pretty much the world that I'm from. And so being that I live in a day and age that people talk about white genocide, I'm on the defensive. I'm on the defensive because I am of an Afghani and Germanic line. So when they talk that kind of shit, they're talking about people like me, more people like me, potentially being born on the planet. But it's my responsibility to not live in fear, to be aware, to have a sense of knowledge and information regarding certain things. Looks like we have a police officer back here. Looks like his signal is pointing right, but he's not turning right yet. Watching him. Man, I'll tell you what, man, in Oregon, they would just turn around and speed up right behind you. I've seen in Texas, a cop with his lights off drive right up behind someone and then turn his lights on. That's the type of thing that can cause an accident. But getting back to my story, the body doubles. Even though you've heard me criticize aspects of our society that's trapped in illusions of separation, ban them all, racial profile, that doesn't mean that everybody's of that mindset. But the way the propaganda machine is designed, it's designed to keep everybody in fear. It doesn't matter what you're afraid of. You could be afraid of the president. You could be a fan of the president, be afraid of his protesters. It really doesn't matter. There's a flavor for everyone. So, in conclusion, wrapping things up here before I go back into town, film a little bit here. I came here to continue my healing, and I recognize that you can't just come into nature and expect it to heal you. You've got to do the work. You've got to avoid complacency. So now that I've had 3 months, and I was grateful to be able to settle and park my RV and not have to go anywhere, not have to go to work, be able to work from home, you know, now I want to go out and find a part-time job. You know, now I'm spending every dollar, you know, hey, $1,500, probably in the end, when you deal with all the costs and you add it up, to get this car legal and to buy it. Also paid the guy a little bit of money to come pick me up because I didn't have a vehicle to go check it out. And in the end, it's a positive experience. And I look forward to, you know, all kinds of new videos, maybe even new relationships, new friendships, trusting the right people. But we're wrapping up the story because there were 3 synchronicities with the day getting in the vehicle. It was getting the vehicle, right? And that guy helping me. The second synchronicity was the, well, there's the chains there and meeting the guy that helped me chain up. And there's the guy that helped me get out of the driveway, so that's 3. The 4th one is that my generator broke, and I ordered a generator, and the UPS guy was delivering it like 9 o'clock at night. I kid you not. And he decided he would turn around. He's like, fuck this shit. He's got chains. He's like, fuck this shit. I'm not doing it. I saw him coming down the hill. We're like 10 miles from the house. Most of the time in a city, you know a UPS driver isn't going to stop and talk to somebody waving his arms. Well, this dude already knew me because he's the one dude that runs that property. He works that route, rather. He works that route. It's going to have the same people work a certain route if they're delivery guys. So he recognized me, recognized my face. And it's like I used to say about Portland, my old hometown where I was born. It's a town where nobody knows your name. This is the kind of place where you keep coming around, they will know your name. And even though there are some people, and, you know, I don't want to sound sexist, but Most of the women here are very unfriendly to outsiders. The ones that have been friendly, there's been a few friendly females. Adrienne, just say some random names. April, a few others. That's about it. That's about it. And I've seen a number of people, even though I feel a little bit traumatized by the events of today's day and age, come to my aid and help me out. So I'm here to hopefully work through some of my fears, and I realize that there's aspects of what I've been through that is still affecting me subconsciously. And my goal is to work through a lot of those blockages so I can have a really good time. And I'm going to get this car legal. Put it this way, if I was to have a few extra $100 for gasoline, if it was the right friend or the right place, or maybe someone we're going to talk about making a documentary film, that's what I'm really drawn to, by the way. It's the content creation. Another state trooper just passed. So that's 3 vehicles. If I had the right friends in my life or potential business opportunities, I think it'd be great to go from living off the grid to going back in the grid, take this vehicle, put my stuff in the back, right? And work on a project or work on a book with someone or something to that effect. Maybe see the beach, maybe see California. So those are my thoughts from me to you as I now go back into town. Glad I could share these thoughts with you, and as I've said before in some other videos, what keeps me going is the gratitude. And that's one of the things that I've been doing on a regular basis, is saying thank you to God, sincerely, with all my heart. Not like I'm praying to God because it's a religious thing. It's not a religious thing for me. It is as real as it gets. And to be honest with you, I feel like a messenger of God. And in the end, I feel like God, or that which we call the Supreme Being, or the Almighty Creator, that would be the true Creator, as described in, say, the Gnostic Gospels, not the Old Testament, who is believed by the Gnostics to be a counterfeit demiurge archon. So it's like the more you focus on the gratitude and a genuine connection with God, or to know the mind of God, the more it seems the universe aids us when we speak on its behalf and we show ourselves to be an asset to the Almighty Creator. Okay, so here's my driveway, and I heard some good news. We have 8 days of sun coming up. No more powerless days. I have a generator, but fortunately I won't have to use it quite a bit, and keep down the down low, save some gas. But yeah, I'm going to continue scraping this. I got a couple bags of salt, and on the 4x4 here, the GMC, we have some chains. Second time putting on chains. I'm going to get some bungee cords to make it tighter. I got some good tips from some people that live up here on extending the life of these chains, but I've got as tight as I can as it is. And I'm going to get ready to scrape off a little bit more before I put on the salt. Then I'm going to back it in instead of driving it in. When I drove it in the first time, same day I got the vehicle, I couldn't get out. So I got some help from a neighbor, and I was sharing the synchronicities in a previous video, all the awesome things that happened a few days ago, from getting the car. And by the way, I got parked on the street. I only have one neighbor at the end of the street, so he's the only person I have to worry about coming through, not main traffic. Got license plates today. Went to the next town over, got my ID taken care of. When I came up the hill for the first time, there was a guy putting on his chains, and he helped me put on those chains. It's just been really, really amazing. Not to mention, met a guy in town who helped me get this vehicle. And I'll give you the price now. I'll tell you why I paid for this. $850. $850. Yeah. So I'm probably about $1,200 overall invested, after insurance, after registration, after license. So we are going to go about our duties here, off-grid duties. I really want to scrape up this particular part. This area is getting good sun, but I may just throw down the salt and back it in and do a little test. And here we are just moments later. I threw only one bag of ice down, and backed it in slowly, then pulled forward and backed it in slowly, a little bit more, then pulled forward. And here's where we're at. From no car to being stuck. Got to add one more license plate. To having a invalid ID, technically, to having all of that fixed, spent all my money. I'm left with like $100 left over, but I did it. It's going to be a big year of hiking and exploring this area and perhaps other parts of the country.